end up playing a different position than what he's drafted as. I'm sure the coaches will love the athleticism he brings, but first they'll probably try him out at a few different areas before finding his best role.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Looking at my years like I'm out of dumb. Everybody needs to be a part of them. Never be enough from the prodigal son. I was born to run, I was born for this. Whip, run me like a racehorse, pull me like a ripcord. Break me down and build me up. I wanna be the slip, word upon your lip. Rather that you rip. Break me down and build me up. Whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes. 'Cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes. You take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do what it takes. Critical, they get just a corner.
Okay, so Jones is off the board. Adam, what do you know?
He's a linebacker that wasn't particularly high on anyone's board coming into the offseason. But after the Combine and Pro Day, his name started getting circulated around draft circles as a potential sleeper in this class. And when I spoke to Matt Miller, he told me it wasn't really what he did, but what he didn't do that got everyone's attention. He finished either average or above that in every major test for a linebacker. What you get is a guy that can do everything asked of him and room to grow in several different areas. Coaches like guys in the middle of the field that they don't have to worry about taking out in certain downs, and he can provide that for this team.
It takes.
All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
You heard his name brought up more and more as the college season went on. He really had a breakout year, getting the attention he deserved after having several monster games in which he looked almost uncoverable. Even when defensive coordinators started game planning around him, using double teams and throwing a safety in there for support, he still found ways to make plays. His quarterback put a lot of faith in him, and hopefully this team's quarterback will be able to do the same in due time.
Polo to the flow though. You already know though. It's Adamville for real. You see ya, just take a photo. I'm reppin' that's on photo with a on your bro though. Cause that Jodo thought that he could rob a player for some no-no. Oh no, also Allen Temple, also England Mountain, also Misty Valley, and I got a couple yesterday out of Cali. And my bag from the valley bought me brand new balance. And I'm playing with a no American dream, dusty road. Man, she been riding since her daddy rode on pole.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Telling every I ain't with my wife, but if she meet her, might be a go. Rick flat flashy. Don't I look dashing? Don't I look classy? Don't act so sassy. I'm the man, boo. That's with or without you.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
But this the best. Hey, don't you see me out here shining, barely flexing? I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address.
Now that the Ravens have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about him.
A veritable interception machine, he holds his college's single-game record for interceptions in a game, snagging 3. Scouts pointed to an almost sixth sense when the ball was in the air, and Matt Miller had him ranked as the top defensive back in the draft in his final mock. True lockdown defensive backs are few and far between, and this is a pick that should solidify this team's pass defense for years to come. It'll be very interesting to see if opposing offenses go right after him, and how if he shows any rust after being avoided for much of his final year in college.
Ball bad. If I ain't a hot boy, then what do you call sacks? Daddy fact, y'all never ball back. Like clocks in the wintertime, we stay eating like it's dinner time. Been feasting and feasting and feasting big, but it ain't no rhyme. We don't know the meaning of love drop.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Just speaking in general, boy, there is no formidable opponent or at that bone that you never step on it. When you want it, mind the kind of give it hope when they down and out. Dig a hole so deep, ain't no climbing out.
Yeah, I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say lonely at the top, but just the best. Don't you see me out here shining, barely flex. I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press.
Now that he's off the board, Adam, why don't you tell us all you got on Johnson?
He's a Heisman winner that got a lot of recognition this season for not just dominating as a receiver, but also as a shutdown defender. His dual threat ability is rare to come by in the modern era of college football, and man, was it fun to watch him all season. He'll probably be focusing on just one position going forward, but the team has the benefit of making that choice based on its scheme and needs. He's going to be an interesting rookie to watch, and he has the potential to have a huge impact for this team early in his career.
No, so go, slow. Back my logo, for show, Pogo. Get down on the. Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you already know, so go, slow. Back my logo, for show, Pogo. Now get down on it.
Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know. Tell her hater get up on my face. Yeah, I've been ballin' since like yesterday. Yeah, all this money all up in the way. All this money in the way. You know that I'm walking with the bank.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
You know that I'm rockin' feel the blue.
The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Bengals are now on the clock.
Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spray. Make it.
The Giants are now on the clock.
Yeah, you cannot see me, the windows is tinted. Yeah, driving around right in that Bentley. Hey, you driving around right in that Bentley. Hey, but your shit, it should be rented. Hey, but that is none of my business. Hey, money won't stop me, go straight to the top. Believe it or not, you like Guinness. Hey,
The Texans are now on the clock.
rock star. Looking at my chain on my diamonds rock hard. Turned the way up, I ain't getting tired. And if you wanna race, then we gonna ride. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Every day I'm shot callin'. I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know.
I come here today to talk about how I feel, and I feel like that we are treated differently than other people, and I don't like how we're treated, and just because of our doesn't mean
It's just the way I feel. Mine's been racing so long, yeah. It's just no way to deal with these problems alone. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me? Now everybody got problems, yeah, but waiting no more way to solve them. I really came up from the bottom, struggling my mama on the last dollar.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
The government been trying to take away what's ours. Really all about the money and the power. I just want to see my people in power. Tell me how we gon' shape this vision. Complaining all day, but in the same condition. If you wanna make change, it's gon' take commitment. Some people enslaved by their religion can't emancipate the fundamental principles.
The Jaguars have made their pick. Adam, what can you tell us about him?
He had one of the worst pro days you could have for a defensive lineman. One coach put him through a series of drills, but halfway through you could clearly see him beginning to tire. According to Matt Miller, he looked considerably tired in the second half of the day and took frequent breaks. At the moment, he doesn't look like an every down lineman. He's really going to need to work on his conditioning to make it through an entire NFL season.
Yeah, but wouldn't know what good advice was. Till I leave him lifeless. Another mama crying, it's another crisis. Lord knows.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
Angels that make the sacrifices. I know we can't continue living like this, and I never sell my soul 'cause that's priceless. Tell me.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Hustle on the block, who gon' save the children? Man, it's all a plot, and I'm just revealing. The media just trying to make a villain. I just take the pain and paint a picture. Voices in my head, I hear the whispers when I feel this way.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptation.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
And I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me? It's just the way I feel. Mine's been racing. It's just the way to deal with these problems alone. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm living on restless. I said, Lord, can you help me? I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me?
The Redskins are now on the clock.
I stay myself, I never change, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid, yeah. Cause, but I still love
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
my cell phone. Still 33 for low. Ride to my dog sitting in jail. It's that lighter on the grass, spin it back, roll. I'm on Keller, I'm on Bishop, I'm on Flat Shore. I'm at Magic, I'm at Bally's, let them go. Then it's right back to the
Okay, so Jones is off the board. Adam, what do you know?
I've been told by a number of scouts that he has all the qualities you want to see in any NFL defensive back, and they usually follow that by referencing his pro day. The kid was a blur on the field, running just under a 4.5 in the 40. When it came to drills, he didn't disappoint either. His combination of speed, footwork, fluid hips, and pure instinct made a lot of scouts draw comparisons to a few shutdown corners currently in the NFL. That's a pretty flattering compliment. Now that he's been drafted, it's only a matter of time before we see if that comparison is an accurate one.
Don't blame me on what the game made me, not what the fame made me. I won't let it change me. I'm the same man.
I stay myself, I never change. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dirty so they treat me like a stain. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rolling from the cradle to the grave. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
On my hood, on my block, yeah. On my, I won't stop, yeah. Play with me, I'll let it, yeah. Halo on me, Sailor Rock, yeah. Got me when it's cool, yeah. Get one, move, yeah. You my little baby boo, yeah. I love you like my favorite color blue, yeah.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Don't blame me, oh, they just shame me. Had to get it how I got it on my own 2 feet. Don't blame me on what the game made me, not what the fame made me. I won't let it change me. I'm the same man.
I stay myself, I never change. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dirty so they treat me like a stain. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rolling from the cradle to the grave. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Rams are now on the clock.
Hear the sound, oh, are you listening? Oh, you gotta hit the ground. Ain't no change.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Feel the burn. I've got a calling, so watch and learn. I heard a voice of a spoken hymn saying, "I'm not, this is who I am." I know you ain't there yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. You're going higher, 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 higher. Let go, set me free. Got the streets all I need. Going
The Jets are now on the clock.
higher, higher.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Feel the flame. Hold on, I can make it rain. Oh, do you hear the thunder? Don't let it bring you down. Look up and see the light. You're not alone, don't give up like that. Oh yeah, got a ways to go. Break that wall, let the spirit flow. I know you ain't there yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. You're going higher and higher.
Patriots have just picked up Garner. Adam, garner us some information.
In what could be seen as a controversial pick, here's a player who has been followed by quite the reputation as a wild child during his years in college. Numerous social media outlets followed and shared his off-field collegiate exploits, submarining his draft stock. Even with his party boy perception, many of my sources told me that this was simply a case of boys will be boys and not the foreshadowing of a larger issue. Look for this coaching staff to keep him extremely busy, hoping to avoid any unwanted publicity. This task may be easier said than done, especially given all the potential off-field distractions that come with being in the NFL. He has the potential to be his own worst enemy, and should he be unable to focus on the opportunity ahead of him, this pick could end up being one of the biggest busts of the draft.
I look up, so many. Oh my God. So many. I done made sacrifices.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices. That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. What you telling me? I sense the jealousy, I got telepathy, I got the recipe, I got the street.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Yeah, my mind is ahead of me. Mama said it's gonna be whatever you let it be. It's some homies I grew up with that's dead to me. It's some that I just met in debt to me. What's in common is they both pay respect to me. I get in my way from Friday to Friday. My girl is a mix of Aaliyah and Sade. I came a long way from that Marvin and I pull out the driveway like I'm in a car chase speeding. And if my she know I'm leaving. No text, no call, but at airplane mode. Code, no P code, no time to change clothes. Same clothes, love if you're living by the same code. G code, leave. You dead to me, back to my destiny. Penthouse, bird's eye view, that's a nest for me. I got myself out of debt, so when you see me, know you somebody I'll never need. Sacrifices.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices. That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on it, inner me, never on it, enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life. But I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on it, inner me.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life.
I done sacrificed the thug life. Diamond shining, ain't no dull light. Drop
The Eagles are now on the clock.
up in the Rari loud pipe. Them the dime, my wrist a Hyundai. Ooh, yeah, Gucci Python. Ooh, yeah, she play with her. Yeah, I bought that new charm.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Come see me. The devil had entered my soul, my mama had beat it out. The devil, my mama had remember my grandma had told me, you better be somebody. Hop in my seats massaging. Watch how I lead the posse. I made an M deposit. Paid all these dudes with the game. Sacrifice your strides for that stain. Sacrifice. Heard you sacrifice your life for that change. She sacrificed that money for white. Left hand got 3 rings. That's brum brum. We up one. Bad, dear savage. Take her to the mall and buy some. That's gonna wanna make your friends come. Make way with the time. Tell me. Why can't y'all recognize?
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Came from sacrifice. Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? 10 toes, yeah, you gotta stay down, eh? Just some yawn.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
People watching, yeah, I gotta skip town, eh? Hit my phone if you.
The Giants are now on the clock.
Sacrifices. So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Yeah. I know my great auntie was a slave. I could only imagine all the
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Only imagine all that she had to take. I'ma make sure all the she gave wasn't in vain. I sacrificed for your entertainment, boy. I'm Mr. Anderson in the Matrix. Check the last name, it's all facts. In the human race, it's all about pacing. Look at all the ones I outlasted. I'm the one at the end, like I count backwards. Never satisfied, details classified till the afterlife. Make a sacrifice down.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Can't y'all recognize that we all came from
sacrifice. Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice?
I got loyalty, got royalty inside my.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
War and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this and sworn like this, immaculate conception. I transform like this, perform like this with new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate. Then off your head. This that put the kids to bed. This that I got.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Still discuss this in my DNA. I got millions, I got riches building in my DNA. I got dark, I got evil that rot inside my DNA. I got off, I got trouble, some heart inside my DNA. I just win again, then win again like Wimbledon I serve. Yeah, that's him again.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use it. Your hormones probably switches.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
All that inside your DNA. Daddy probably snitch. Heritage inside your DNA. Backbone don't exist. Born on side a jellyfish, I gauge. See my pedigree, most definitely don't tolerate the front. Like been through, probably offend you. This is Paula's oldest son. I know conviction, burners, boosters, ballers, dead, redemption, scholars, fathers, kids and I wish I was fed forgiveness. Yeah. Soldier's DNA, born inside the beast. My expertise checked out in second grade. When I was 9, on sale motel, we didn't have nowhere to stay. At 29, I've done so well, hit cartwheel in my.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Supposed to antisocial extrovert, and excellent meaning extra work, and absentness you hurt, and passiveness never struck my nerve, and that's a riff gonna be this case. The reason my power's here on earth. Salute the truth from the prophet say. I got loyalty, got royalty inside
this is
my
why
DNA.
I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African Americans in recent years.
I live about my DNA. This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting. Money and power, the Mecca emeritus. Tell me something, you can't tell me nothing. I'd rather do than to listen to you. My DNA not for imitation. Your DNA an abomination. This how this when you in the matrix, dodging bullets, reaping what you're sowing, stacking up the footage, living on the go and sleeping in the villa, sipping from a Grammy, walking in the building, diamond in the ceiling, marble on the floors, beaches out the window, peeking out the window, baby in the pool, Godfather goes, only Lord knows. I've been going hammer, dodging paparazzi through the cameras, eating 4 daughters, Brock wearing sandals, yoga on a Monday, stretching to November, watching all the snakes, curving all the fakes, phone never own, I don't conversate, I don't compromise, I just penetrate money. These are the breaks, these are the times. Level number 9, look up in the sky. Tennis on the way, sinners on the way, on the way. I got winners on the way. You ain't without a on your belt.
The Colts are now on the clock.
You ain't sick enough to put it on yourself. You ain't rich enough to hit the ladder skate. Tell me when destruction gonna be my fate. Gonna be a fate, gonna be a fate.
Our very own Adam Schefter has more to say about this pick.
He was the recipient of a Hail Mary pass that went down as one of the biggest moments in college football this season. What Matt Miller told me was, it sounds like he should get all the credit for it. As he described it, he did exactly what a coach wants his receiver to do in that kind of situation. He kept his eye on the ball as he ran downfield, boxed out the defenders in his area, and finished with an athletic, leaping grab. We knew he was one of the better receivers in college, and that play basically showed us why. This team just added a potential offensive weapon to its arsenal, and I look forward to seeing what it can do on Sundays.
Don't be a menace. They gon' serve me a sentence, but now I'm up in it. The illest that did it.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Give about opinions. I'm just minding my business. If I'm grinding, I'm shining. Don't got time for the gimmicks. Squad, I'm it. 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 Squad. Back to square one. It's hard to square up. Everybody got
Seahawks pick is in. Adam, give us the latest information on this guy.
A recent change to the combine eligibility rules added an academic clause. Basically, it withheld invitations to the combine from players who had a poor academic standing. I couldn't find out the specifics of his violation, but it was enough for him to lose eligibility for the combine. Not only that, but some scouts pointed to the off-the-field concerns as a reason he slid down draft boards. At least there was enough tape of him playing for scouts to work with, and it was enough to impress at least one team, and we'll see how he does for them.
That's a certain, baby. Let's take a ride. Let's take a ride. Put your for the ones that die. It's vows tonight. Just you and I get lost tonight and lose your mind. Squad, I'm it. 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 Squad.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Y'all been since my early days, I've been stuck in my worldly ways. Propaganda, press, pan the camera, please don't look at me in my face. Everybody might see me.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Myself, bored with life as aboard this plane. Steward this sex if I need help. Maybe what's your last name? Hopefully it still ain't been changed. Something about you make me not doubt you. I will silence my brain, scream louder. Asking when I'm gonna myself. Couple problems, my cash ain't help. Human issues too strong for tissue. False provider, war masked by wealth. Move your body if you came here to party. If not, then pardon me. How I'm supposed to have a good time with death and destruction's all I see. Out the sight, I'm out of my mind. The sound of sunshine is calling me. The vibrations is all I need. All I need, all I need. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
I like to see you groove. This is how we do. This is how we do. Deja vu from a bayside view. I see black cats in the daytime too. I see black cats on the daytime news when handcuffed wrists and his skin turned blue. I met guy once at the rendezvous and felt starstruck.
Vince, the car's out front.
Got things to do, got to make my moves. I can't miss my flight and miss you too. Boo, first class seats is overrated. Won't go lest they overpay us. Nowadays I'm overdating my street for stay well acquainted. Their morning is calling me. Good vibrations is all I need. All I need, all I need. Move your body if you came here to party. If not, then pardon me. How I'm supposed to have a good time with death and destruction's all I see. Out the sight, I'm out of my mind. The sound of sunshine is calling me. Good vibrations is all I need. All I
The Titans are now on the clock.
people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, move. Party people, I like to see you groove. This is how we do.
The Jets are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. Adam, what can you tell us about the Chiefs' newest player?
There isn't a strict dress code on a player's pro day like there is at the combine. However, with big guys like him, maybe there should be. After skipping combine activities, he came to his school's pro day looking a little larger than normal. When he ran the 40 and other drills, he decided to remove his shirt. And not only did he turn in a slower time, but he also looked a little bit out of shape. Despite the lack of conditioning, the team liked him enough to pick him here. We'll see how much better he can be once he's back in playing shape.
Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Put a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me stare like second nature. Says disappear like second nature. On the same block like an hour later. Whole team eating but it's only right. There's a spare plate but you're the phony type. J-Hut's ugly in it, baby 1 minute. You're looking wicked. Hey yo, I started off gentle, my stroke game mental, my lifestyle eventful. I didn't mean to offend you. Fendi belt saying I style like I'm mental. Moving wild and mental. I made another 5 this week. Your money playing hide and seek. I don't even like to speak. I just tell him hi and bye. Slide up automatic Hyundai. Doing styles on them.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Out the Benz like it's common sense. Put a monkey on my feet like it's common sense.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me sad like second nature. You're gonna do it, yeah, I haven't did it. I'm handling it, handy with it. Think I'ma do it, let that do it. Bang, stick jam like what happened to it. Was it not working?
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Creep on him, lean on him, witnesses eavesdropping, keep popping. They keep popping like I ain't seen nothing. Don't make me upset, reach for an object. Who's that in the passenger? Brown skin, got big body. In my face, on me. Money, I got that for me. You're not popping, never pop nothing. Stop bluffing.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Wouldn't rest on a million, dressed as civilians. All them masked up looking creepy. Park up, jump out, jump in. Skirt out like it's too easy. If anybody else didn't see me. Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Put a monkey on my feet like it's common sense.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Second nature.
The Bengals are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock.
This Jenkins guy, Adam, what do you know? After a string of injuries his junior year and what looked like more of the same his senior year, he made the decision to leave the team. It was a difficult choice to make, but after consulting with the trainers and coaches, it seemed like the best long-term option. His body needed more time to heal from past injuries, and opting out of his senior year helped him make a complete recovery in preparation for the draft. So even though there wasn't a lot of recent tape on him, he did put on a good show at the Combine, convincing scouts he hadn't lost a step. Some teams were concerned with his competitiveness after foregoing that final year of eligibility, but at least one team was confident enough to pick him up. Now we'll see if this team can keep him healthy and on the field.
It's like that now. I'ma show you how to act now. I'ma show him how to act. I'ma show you. I'ma show him how to act. Okay, now picture
the Jaguars are now on the clock.
his man's in his hand, feeling like a man. Run, put it to your brain like. Everybody know you ain't a.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
I know I can live without it. Red light, stop. Green light, go. Everything ain't what it seemed like. I know. Hold up, what you mean? Where you been in? This is merely the beginning again. What you been living in? The box under the bridge, like Anthony Kiedis, looking for something to complete us and maybe lead us. A long way from equal is how they treat us. Body of a builder with the mind of a fetus. Turn on the television and see the vision they feed us. And I wish I could erase that. Face facts. Everybody people. Everybody bleed. Everybody needs something. Everybody love. Everybody know how it go. Everybody people. Everybody bleed. Everybody needs something. Everybody love. Everybody know. I've been knocking Joe down like it witness. God is my witness, I'm witness, but on the real I think I need another witness. If it was 17, black dad and white mama wouldn't change a thing. light skin, certified as a house. Go figure, in my blood is the venom master. It's like the devil playing space with the pastor. But he was born with the privilege. Man, what the fuck is that? People told me as a child, as a little boy playing with his toys, I should be ashamed. And some people look ashamed when I rap, like my great granddaddy didn't take a to the back. Not accepted by the ghetto. I don't give a praise God, I can see the light. Everybody talk about race this, race that. I wish I could erase that. Face facts. Everybody people. Everybody bleed, everybody needs some. Everybody love, everybody know how it go. Everybody people.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Everybody needs some. Everybody love, everybody know. Okay, I was gone for a minute, but I'm back now. Sit back down. Seem like everybody nowadays Hollywood. Oh, it's like that now. I'ma show you how to act now. I'ma show them how to act. I'ma show you. I'ma show them how to act.
The Lions are now on the clock. The Falcons are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. All right, the Seahawks are going with Harmon here.
It's a tough pill to swallow when you are doing everything you can to prepare for the combine and you push yourself to the point of injury. That was his case just 2 months ago. And once he was injured, it was goodbye to pre-draft evaluations for him. His draft stock may have taken a hit, but it didn't stop this team from picking him up. He should be good to go before camp, and it's great to see someone take a chance on him.
Some bombs never go off, some stars never blow up. I'm pitching in, never in the dugout. Reaching in my and I can't take a head count. Flashback, 03, things was looking run down. Now I set foot in the place, it's a luau. Killing like 10 counts, y'all know how we get down. House with the fence around, y'all know that we en route. Transition from the Impala to the Fisker. I should charge admission for that to get the dessert. Left the doors up, now the Lambo has picked.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
I'ma let you sit there, I'ma let you stay there. When I shed a tear.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
So I'ma charge retail. I brought some cause you say you want sick. If you love sick in the room, you best get well. Every dog has its day. What the no tuck. Sway Lee, Winter Magazine, double XL. Floss with your Gucci on. Dipped in colors burst on the cars and the jewels. I'm a wanted man. Seats looking like they got a spray tan. When I was without, not a helping hand. I got some.
The Browns are now on the clock.
I told Ben Frank just to drop a pin. I could let my fit go to the highest bid. Yes, I might drop in. It all depends. Junior high, I was dreaming of a 10. I'm coming clean though. I mean, not a spec. My girl be serving looks. I can the chef. Katana sword popping out my walking cane. I'm overseas, my Cali Bay like how was Spain. We getting to the money and you having issues. I bought a and it came with a wetsuit. The Buddha left me without breath. I really am a mess. I'm mooching off myself. She be hoping that I take a knee. Yes.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
This is how we live, this is how we exist. Love the kicks and we love the hits. All in the house and I'm wrecking. If I sleep, I'm a wrecking. I'm in my own world, throw the money up and make my own weather. Mommy playing tether on leather. Money talk, it's a lecture. 80-pointers dance on me, it's electric. Don't hate, I'm still unaffected. Chipper on my shoulder, I move undetected. She said, pop the question got deflected. Man, I'm in my boy, then my brethren. Let's cut to the chase. It's only on the house when we in the place. My used to lava boys got it up in some flames. Stirring up the cup with my wrist souffle. Shaka Zulu chains with my name engraved. I told you.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
We bring it to your door like you rang, spending all the money, then we
The Rams are now on the clock.
With the Fendi belt, angry face like put some gold on my finger. That's what they say when they see me, man. I've been going crazy just to stay sane. Hey, your girl went missing, who's to blame? Young whippersnapper with a range. Pause, then I went to range. Call that hottie on my stage. Long week, but a great day. So it got me.
The Titans are now on the clock.
And on me, you should get a raise. On me, yeah, you can hate.
The Jets are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock.
You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the U.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Them boy dare try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the U. Man, know that I kick up the U. Them boy dare try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Wanna come round there like a bad boy, do it. Want all the talking, go on and do it. Running through the party, bottle up. Rolls on my ear saying storms, don't do it. Double on my shoulder, I don't lack. Hit him with a business, I don't scrap. Even when I'm bar, I'm so easy right, but there's no car. Stand down, never had a thing, never had a pound. You were never bad then, you ain't bad now. Never had them, then look back down. Wait, I saw bare kicks, saw bare clothes. Said not that, I can't wear those. I don't like them, they're not my thing. They went silent, they're all weirdos. Like yeah, storms don't clear. Never had a Tom Ford or a...
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Tell them don't do it, don't dare. Don't care who you know from my block. You're not Al Capone, they can take my car and my creps. I'll still do the road in my socks. Like who's gonna stop me? You, him, little man. I got blue slims. Don't be an idiot, move smart. I've been killing it, new king. You ain't ready for my new stuff. You're a boy by yourself, go and group up. And when Crep went states for the BTs, I was covering Crep like a boot cut. If mad, it's a family thing, straight family thing. Dumb man, I broke no salary thing. Had a young thing called Amy telling me to come round hers on a Valerie thing. Hashtag Murky Academy thing. You were like art and the gallery thing. Dumb boy there wanna chat about bars, wanna chat about. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the U. Man, know that I kick up the U. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, I'm too hot. I got money in my shoebox. I'm the man of the house when my show sold out like the brother from the Boondocks. Beat Swan in my boombox. Still meat from the stew pot. Man, I'm go sick when my tune drops. Little man, that's a hooplo, not a hoopla. What? Pronounce it right. I got magic, I'm down to die for this. I don't care, bro, I'm down. Man stressed, so I'm bound to like my slips. Wait, I'm bound to ride for flips. Real G's gonna ride around to this. Man, I got no time to write at this. I never left my 9 to 5 for this waste man thing. I don't care what rave man's in. I came here to relax, but if it gets mad, make a young boy take man's things. Try to tell me I'm way too big to rebel. Nah, man, you're never too big to rebel. I was in the O2 singing my lungs out, rude, but you're never too big for a deal.
The Bears are now on the clock.
Salute to my sister as well. Gotta keep trophies down at my mum's bit, man.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
I see bare MCs on the sideline, but I still got a couple bangs in the pipeline. Man, I got grown men at me. You're getting way too old for the timeline. You're getting way too old for this. Should've looked after your kids. Get out the booth, go home to your son. It's never too late to commit. It's like man, love, put my name in a random flat, get a plane to Qatar. This year I learned how to take care of business. Next year I'll learn how to play the guitar. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the U. Man, know that I kick up the U. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the U. Man, know that I kick up the U. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth?
People tryna say I'm only enemy. Got a code with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Man.
The Packers are now on the clock.
60 on the time, I can't even lie.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Out, do or die. So on roll when I roll.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Man.
I can't ride Benz, I don't do peace. I beast, I gotta eat. Saber tooth, tiger, diamond.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Right now, won't you compete? I was outside.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Shake, leave your mouth wide. You need to say.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Amen. What's left in my life, don't know what's in store. I've been dealing with these blessings that I can't ignore. Putting up the numbers, we ain't keeping score. Amen.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Run it in our house for us.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Love me, but you gotta wash. Amen.
I just three, I don't do sleep. Yeah, trying to sing. UV. Yeah, we gon' fall through, coming through deep.
The Giants are now on the clock.
Amen.
Yeah, packed it from the south.
The Texans are now on the clock.
On the cross, threw it on my neck. Yeah, when I rep the set, gotta stay blessed. Yeah.
Amen. People trying to say I'm on the enemy. Got a cold with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen.
Man, what it meant to me. Everybody trying to take the identity. Everybody around me turn to a friend of me. Sit back while I take on the remedy. I cannot let it get into me. This playing a toll on me meant to me.
The Jaguars are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Put my problems in them. Only check up when the checks come. My pockets looking blessed up. All the talking never stressed us. They talking like they jealous of me. They talking like they never love me. They talking like they next door. I still treat them like some. Showers on the way. I've been working 25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Yo. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
I still wish it would, I still.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Season wishes, candles for my exes now. Ain't no fingers, let the count my blessing now. Promises and wishes, trust me, it's been different now. No rings for the things, I go missing now. Promises and wishes, why would I ever start celebrating?
The Lions are now on the clock.
Ever start celebrating? I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking. I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking. The showers on the way. I've been working 25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Yo. Know you.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
I still wish them well, yeah. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it.
The Falcons are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Yeah. Young Gerald. Yeah.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Browns are now on the clock.
With the boom pow. Every week now I switch to a new style. 2 12s in the back just blew out. Everything I do end up in the news now. Yeah. Lead a club with a few now. Just some Hollywood and they do. I'm in the mood now. 2 a.m. What you wanna do now? What you wanna do now? Little baby, pass. Don't spill on me. That's Margella. Got this Oakland game to tell her. She look familiar. At Coachella, what's her name? Isabella. Forget it. Yeah. It's like a week ago, but we both know how weekends go. Tryna function, got some places we could go. Lot y'all got me speaking slow like, yeah, I'm blessed. I don't GA. I'm tryna. Yes on yes on yes on yes. Say less. Say less. You ain't go. Say less. Yeah.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Hey girl, what it do? If you got friends, cool, bring a few through. No fun if the homies now R.I.P. Nate Dogg, this too true. And you know what I'm down for. Round 2, round 3, and a round 4. Mood switch when she knocked at the front door. Next up was the uproar. Yeah, was like a week ago, but we both know how weekends go. Tryna tuck off, got some places we could go. Swear she got the like wow, she's blessed, I'm blessed. I don't GA. I'm tryna. Yes on yes on yes on yes. Say less. Say less.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
You ain't go. Say less.
Sheesh. What you saying? I don't understand. I'm out my mind. I popped. Sheesh. I swear this lock shot got me stuttering. Girl, you not fall in love again. Sheesh. Get it. My favorite rush. You talkative, ain't gotta say too much.
The Rams are now on the clock.
I'm trying to. I'm all roll for these. Get it. Not complicated. No conversation. Get it. Not complicated. No conversation. Please say.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Say less. Please say less.
The Jets are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock.
Say less. Say less. You ain't go. Say less. Say less. Say less. You ain't go. Say less.
Picture me putting my city all over the map. There was a believers that
The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock.
So tell them I got a new girl. Tell them that I'm begging. I want all my 50s in cash. I'm tired of living check to check. I need 20 models. This is smiling in my grave, fresh to death. I've been Wu-Tang with a spectral deck. Yeah, I got that. I gotta just get off my chest. I cannot miss it. Got last on my list and you next. Take it how you want it. I ain't famous like I want it, but I think I might just skirt off. Blow the speakers and turn up. Pop up. Go to church with my shirt off. Tell the Lord that I'm here now. I've been waiting for so long. I've been patient for so long. Breaking rules like there's no laws, and I did it for a long time. If you don't like me, take a ticket. There's a long line. Nice to meet me. I think it's a pleasure. I think they lost time. Ooh, you lost. What you mean?
Woo! What you mean? Woo! And now I don't trust a so what you mean? Woo! Hold up, whoa, with the what you mean? Woo! Hold up now. Don't know what you think, compare me. Adrenaline popping, the blood will be leaking and running. Yeah. I do what I do, I don't care if you like it or love it. Tell all of my I got a new girl. Wait. You tell the I'm the bank and I want
The Bears are now on the clock.
living on the edge. I want it, they gon' call the feds. I just bought a cost an arm and leg. My mama told me take it back and get a job instead. When you coming?
The Ravens are now on the clock.
I swear. Yeah. Born in the ghetto, I never had nothing to fear. Take it how you want it. I ain't famous like I want it, so I might just throw a iffy fit. Call up
The Packers are now on the clock.
I told Shorty if she talking nice, and she gon' call her friends up and
The Raiders are now on the clock.
talking, go chop off your lips. If I ain't in your top 10, go top 4 for bridge. My black boys, I got boys that knock off your lid. I doubt y'all gon' pop off, so hop off my. What you mean? I said, what you mean? Listen, I don't trust her. So, no, I said, what you mean? Whoa, I said, what you mean?
You thought I was finished, you thought it was over. You thought I retired, you thought I went fishing with Kobe. I'm still as ill as considered as one of the coldest. Still a put a partner rapper here like Moses. I'm throwback like a molar roller. I'm cooler than a cup of yogurt. Black flag boy, truck soldier. I'm cool with laws and ayatollahs. Rap gods like Cyclops and Ogre. I'm King Kong, ain't nobody told you. You think Rome still. And Bobby Brown about to go get. Paul McCartney, I'm rich. I'm Muhammad Ali, I talk. I'm James Brown, about to tear down this. I'm Michael Jackson, some bad as bad gon' get. What you mean?
The 49ers are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Yeah.
The Eagles are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Bengals are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock.